Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And yes, how are you? I hope you people are fine. And if you are fine, then that is good. So we are back again today. Okay. Yeah, from the chat, people are saying yes. All right, good. We are back again to pick up from where we stopped the other time. Okay. But before we start, we need to have an opening prayer. Okay. Anyone willing to give us an opening prayer, please you can put up your hand and you give us that opening prayer. Anyone willing? I don't know that Bashiri's hand is up. Yes. Okay. Anyone willing to give us an opening prayer? There is no one today. Okay, I have Isabella. Please, you can Isabella, you can unmute yourself.
Let's sum ourselves for prayer. Almighty Lord, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for this lesson we are going to have today. We ask you, Lord, to help us understand whatever we are going to learn. And we ask you, Lord, to give us the wisdom and understanding that we need. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that one prayer. Thank you so much. All right, so we are picking up from here now. And before we start, let me share my screen. A moment. Okay. A moment, please. I think. A moment, I'm trying to get this work. Okay. Okay, so I think you can see my screen. If you are seeing my screen, then we are going to be starting. All right, here we are. Of course, this program is sponsored by Edify Uganda, and Edify believes that every child deserves to learn and flourish. A moment, let me see. Okay, I thought someone is saying something from the chat. Okay, I've been telling you that Edify believes that every child has got the right, like every child has to learn and then flourish. Edify is not working alone. Okay, Edify here is actually working together with the Christian School Owners Association and then ICT, that is Teachers Association of Uganda. Of course, the government of Uganda is also part of this e-learning. We are going to be looking at history, and the teacher automatically is me, Busuulwa Joseph, as you can see. And the topic for today is going to be the Barlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. Okay, the Barlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. The years are so much important. Okay. I had seen a hand up. Okay, I think the person has lowered it. Okay, I've been telling you that the years are so much important. The moment you just talk about the Barlin Conference and then you end there, you will be confusing the people because we had different conferences there. There was the Barlin Conference of 1878. Now, if you don't actually put the year, you will be confusing people. So we are looking at the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. Okay. So today here we are with the Berlin Conference. But before I give you what it was all about, is anyone in position to tell us about the Berlin Conference briefly? Someone who has read ahead of us, who knows what it is all about. We are seeing the Berlin Conference. What is it all about? Anyway, and okay. I thought there is one with some information there. Oh, okay. I have Nimrod. Nimrod, you can unmute yourself. Nimrod, please unmute yourself.
The conference was called by Otto von Bismarck.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. She has got a point. Yes, it was called by Otto von Bismarck. Then Cravens.
It was hosted in Germany, and its main aim was to partition East Africa among the European countries.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, it was held in German, that is true. And one of the objectives, of course, is partitioning of East Africa. But they did not look at only East Africa. They looked at the entire African continent, and East Africa was part of. Okay, I have Angela. I think you've gone off. Oh, okay. Angela, I think, has gone off. All right. Thank you for what you've given us. Thank you for the contribution. Indeed, you people were spot on. Okay, you people were spot on. We are looking at a conference that took place in Berlin, the capital of Germany. Okay, Berlin, the capital of Germany. And it was chaired by the Chancellor of Germany, Otto von Bismarck. Okay, and it had a lot of objectives. We shall look at this because we are going to look at the terms of the conference. Before looking at the terms of the conference, let us try to also have this. A moment. Okay. Let us try to look at this information here. Here we are defining or trying to introduce. So we are saying the Berlin Conference was a European meeting that it took place in the German town of Berlin from the 15th of November to 1884, from the 15th of November 1884 to 30th January 1885. Okay, so the point is, it was a meeting which was in the capital of Germany, Berlin. Okay, and for your information, Germany was such a new country, a younger country at that time. Germany had just got high independence in 1870. So Germany was only 14 years old by this time. But of course, the leader of Germany at the time was such a strong leader. That is why he influenced all other European statesmen to have a meeting in Berlin, the capital of Germany. So we have this other information that the meeting was called by the Chancellor of Germany, Otto von Bismarck, to carry out the paperwork for the partition of East Africa. Okay, the partition of East Africa therefore took place in Europe first and on paper. Okay, so we have said that it took place in Europe first and on paper. This means the partition of East Africa was completed in Europe. They sat down and then partitioned Africa before the actual coming to East Africa. Are you getting it? So on paper, they had done it already. So by the time they came to East Africa to take it amongst themselves, they had already done it in Berlin, the capital of Germany. Yes, so we are now going to look at the terms of the conference. Yeah, we are going to look at the terms of the conference. And I would like to hear from you. Anyone who could be knowing some of the terms of the Barlin Conference. Terms of the Barlin Conference. I'm waiting to hear from you. Oh, no one has read ahead of us. Oh, it seems to be a completely new thing. Terms of the Barlin Conference. Okay. Okay. Without wasting time, let me try to help you out. Terms of the Barlin Conference. Here we are looking at the first term or the first point of this. So we are saying that, by the way, something important. Okay, let me see a moment from the chat here. Okay, someone would like to know which class is this. This is senior to history. Okay. This is senior to history. Okay, I have a hand up, and this is Ashley. Ashley, you can unmute yourself.
Any European powers to ally with any African country to frustrate colonialism.
To support, is it what you said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And indeed, it is a point that it was agreed that these people were not to support African countries against the Europeans in the course of taking over East Africa. Stella, you can unmute yourself.
The European powers were supposed to develop their country. They
were supposed to develop the colonies. That is what you are saying. Oh, okay. They were supposed to develop the colonies. Something, yes, somehow. Ashley, yes.
It was agreed that all European powers should eliminate slave trade in their colonies.
Yes, that is true. Thank you so much. It is actually true. It was agreed that these European powers should eliminate slave trade and then promote legitimate trade. Okay, thank you so much for that. Then in the chat, meaning of terms. Okay, someone would like to know the meaning of terms, what they agreed upon. That what we are looking at. Okay, terms. We are looking at what they agreed upon, right? What they agreed upon. Then Rebecca says, what are they? What they agreed upon. Okay. Then Awori says terms is like plan. Yeah, what they agreed upon. That is what we are looking at. Okay. Then teacher me, I have not understood the meaning of terms of. Okay, I think I have clarified. Okay. We are looking at what they agreed upon in the meeting. What they but again, we may not actually, but what they agree upon is we are looking at the objectives. Okay, what they were to do. Are you getting it? What did they come up? What was it that they had to seek? Are you getting it? What we are trying to look at here? So those are what we are trying to mean in the terms. All right. Okay, I have some people whose hands are up. I have drawers. You can unmute. Oh, okay, that one has gone off. Pavin, you can unmute yourself.
Teacher, can they also be called guidelines?
Guidelines, yes, we can also use that one.
Okay.
Yes, we can also use that one. Thank you for that that good term. Okay. Right. Okay, we are saying, and again, I wanted to tell you that when we are talking about terms, in most cases, we use a future tense. We use a future tense. When you use a past tense, then these turn into effects. See, are you getting it? The moment you apply a past tense, the terms will turn into effects. That is why we normally use a future tense. We use statements like this was agreed upon. This was resolved. They agreed to do this. Are you getting it? They agreed to do this. They decided to do this. Are you getting it? But we are not, or we do not apply a past tense when we are looking at it, terms. Okay. Oh, okay. Irene says they shared Africa among themselves. Now, when you say they shared, that is a past tense already. So this has become an effect now. Okay. This is what I've been explaining. So they shared Africa among themselves. Now this is an effect. It is not a term. That's why I said we apply a future tense. Okay. Okay, I have Linda. You can unmute yourself.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, please.
After slave trade, that's the next topic.
After slave trade?
Yes.
Yes. But again, it also depends. But the last topic here was we were looking at trade in East Africa, right?
Yes.
And we looked at the long distance trade. We looked at slave trade. Then from there, we look at the scramble and the partition of Africa. So we are looking at the scramble and the partition of Africa. We started it some time back. You understand? And even we looked at the reasons why they scrambled for Africa and all that. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, please. Okay, then draw sense. Yes, draw sense.
Teacher.
Yes, please. Draw sense, you are breaking. We cannot
the General Act of the Conference of Berlin, neutral.
Sorry?
The General Act of the Conference of Berlin declared the Congo River Basin to be neutral.
Or the Congo River Basin to be neutral. Not only actually the Congo River, but even River Nile, okay? Even River Nile and some other rivers were to be neutral for the European powers, okay? Okay, thank you for that. Ashley? Ashley, you can unmute yourself.
Yes. Unmute. Okay. In case a colonial power wanted to extend its influence, it had to first inform other European countries to avoid clashes and misunderstandings.
Yes, thank you so much. It was agreed that if a power was interested in any African country, then this power had to inform other members about this country. Okay. Yes, and that was to avoid the clashing for the colonies. Thank you so much. Sherina, you can unmute yourself. Sherina, please unmute yourself. Oh, what is happening? Sherina, unmute yourself. Okay. Okay, I think she has got issues. All right, now from the chat here. Oops, I don't. Okay. Ashley, you can unmute yourself. Ashley, please unmute yourself.
Congo was to be left to Belgium, while France was to be compensated in West Africa. Meanwhile, Germany and Britain were given a free hand in East Africa.
Yes, thank you for all of that information. You are spot on. We are saying Belgium was actually given Congo. That is true. Okay, Congo was to be left for Belgium, and then East Africa for the British and the Germans. Thank you. Droll says.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
What if I say, what were the long-term effects of the Berlin Conference? How do I answer that question?
You apply a past tense on the terms, plus some other, okay? But in most cases, we apply a past tense on the terms. For example, someone has just given us a point that Congo was to be left, okay, to the Belgians. The Belgians were to take over Congo. Now, that is a term. If you want to make it an effect, then you actually say that Belgium took over Congo. Belgium colonized Congo. Or Congo was left for Belgium. Are you seeing?
Yes.
So it has now become an effect. Are you getting it?
Okay.
But for the terms, we apply a future tense. This was to be done. It was agreed. Are you seeing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So the first statement here that we have goes as okay. Okay. Oh, you've gone off. Okay, she has gone off. Oh, you want to say something, Nimroid? You can unmute yourself, Nimroid.
No country in Europe was to make territorial claims on any area in Africa.
Nimroid, the statement is not actually clear. Okay. Then I have, I don't know that this is dialed. You can unmute yourself. Is this dialed? Yes, please.
What was the other name of the Barlin Conference and Congo? Apart from Barlin Conference and Congo Conference, what was its other name?
We don't have these other names. They are called, it is the Barlin Conference. It has got no any other name. Have you read somewhere where? Okay, all right. Sherina.
Excuse me, teacher, I've just joined. Is this the first heading? Yes.
Yes, terms of the Barlin Conference. That one you see on your screen.
Thank you, teacher. No.
All right. Alan.
Teacher.
Yes.
I want to know who were the organizers of the Berlin Conference.
It was organized by Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor of Bismarck, a new country, a newly created country, which was created in 1971. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, please. Drolsons.
Teacher.
Yes, please.
Teacher, these things are somehow confusing. The questions, Kali, how the way they asked them, yeah? Now, what if they say, what was the main purpose of the Barlin Conference of 1884 and 1885?
What was the main purpose?
Yeah.
You look at the objectives. The reasons why they had to have this conference. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Nimroid. Nimroid, you can unmute yourself.
No country in Europe was to make territorial claims on any area in Africa without effectively occupying it.
Without effectively occupying it. Okay. Yes, that no country without effectively occupying it. Of course, they had this other underground work by the missionaries, by the chartered companies. These ones had even signed the treaties with these countries. So yes, that is true. Okay. Okay. Now here we are. Okay, from the chat again, someone. Oh, someone wanted to know the difference. I mean, in the names, how is it written? This is Rebecca. Is it Bismarck with an R and a CK at the end, or Bismarck without a C? The name is Bismarck with a C. Okay, the name must have that C at the end. If it doesn't have a CK, okay. So we are saying here that the conference resolved that a map of Africa be produced, then actual partition be done. Are you getting it? It was resolved that a map of Africa had to be produced first. These people had to have this map, and then they share Africa in Europe on paper. Are you getting it? Once they had a map on their tables, then they could now begin to share this African in Europe on paper before actually coming to Africa. Okay, Dailed, you can unmute yourself.
Teacher, I wanted to answer over Darlings.
Yes.
That the Barlin Conference was convened to discuss African colonization.
Okay, to discuss African colonization. Okay, yes, that is, by the way, that is one of the reasons. That is one of the reasons. Okay, and it means there are so many other reasons, but a duplicate of this original one of colonizing Africa and sharing it amongst themselves. You might look at these other reasons, but it will be duplicates of this major reason of taking over Africa, okay, and East Africa in particular here. All right. Okay. So we have said they had to produce the map of Africa before the actual partition was to be done, and then it had to be produced. Okay. Then another term. It was agreed that any European power, no, it was agreed that if any European power developed interest in the control of a colony, other members should be informed. Are you getting it? And this was to avoid fighting for colonies in Africa. They had to take over Africa peacefully. They didn't have to fight for colonies in Africa. Sherina, unmute.
Excuse me, teacher. I just wanted to know how many countries were in the Barlin Conference.
Okay, the countries, all the countries that had the interest in sharing Africa were there. The French were there, the Portuguese were there. So many countries, we may not count them. There are those that are not even mentioned, but they were part of the conference, okay? So that means we may not exactly know the countries that were there. Even those that were not mentioned were there. Some small countries that at the time were small, okay? Today they might be big, but at that time they might have been small. Italy, the Italians were there, you know? Okay. All right. So number two, we were saying that it was agreed that if any European power had interest in taking over a colony, then other members had to be informed. Okay. Remember, we are looking at terms. That is why we are using words such as "it was agreed." Okay. It was agreed that the European powers were to occupy the territories effectively. The moment they occupy it effectively, are you getting it? So it was among what they agreed upon in the Barlin Conference. Okay, David, you can unmute yourself.
I wanted to answer Shina that there were 14 major 14 major countries which were in Barlin Conference.
14 major ones. How you are using the word major, meaning that there were some other small states that we are not talked about. That is why I've told her that we had so many countries that participated in this conference. Okay. All right, all right. Thank you for that. Okay, from the chat, draws and says guaranteed freedom to trade and shipping for all states in the basin. Make your point clear. Who guaranteed? The Barlin Conference guaranteed the freedom of trade. Yes, it guaranteed the freedom of trade, by the way. But now you are bringing it as an effect. Okay. I have Paul. Your hand is up. You can unmute yourself. Oh, you pulled it down. Okay. So here we are. We are still looking at terms. It resolved that once a colony was already taken over by any European power, no other power from Europe should go in for the same. And all this was meant to stop fighting for colonies in Africa. It was agreed, Bismarck told them, we should not fight in Africa for colonies. We will look fools if we go to Africa and then we begin fighting amongst ourselves. So it is that we shouldn't fight in Africa when we're taking over colonies, okay? European powers were to abolish slave trade in East Africa. This is true. They were to abolish slave trade and then establish a legitimate trade. And that is why they even licensed companies to come to East Africa and carry out a trade. The German East African Company, the Imperial British East African Company, and these companies prepared the ground for colonialism. Okay, they prepared the ground for colonialism. Okay, there is this other point here that River Congo, Niger, Nile, among others, were to be free areas for navigation for all the European powers in Africa. River Congo, Niger, Nile, and some other rivers, they are to be free for navigation. For all other European powers, they wanted to make sure that they can easily navigate Africa. You understand? And they were using the water transport at the time. Okay. We have this one here, that East African countries were to be divided between Germany and Britain. It is very true. East African countries were to be divided between Germany and Britain. And that is why Britain took over Uganda, Kenya, and there is also Zanzibar, by the way. And then Germany took over Tanganyika. You understand? Were given a Heligoland by the British, and then the Germans also surrendered Zanzibar to them, to the British. Okay. Yes, there is this other point. That Congo was to go to Belgium under King Leopold II. I don't have an image of King Leopold II here because I've already given it to you. When you look at the slides of, I think, lesson 3 or 2 around there, we had the image of King Leopold II. So Leopold II had to take over Congo. Okay, had to take over Congo. Okay, so we are saying there's something I wanted to tell you here, but I thought, do you know that we had 2 different Congo? We had the Congo Kinshasa, then there is also Congo Brazzaville. You understand? But here we are majorly talking about Congo Kinshasa. Okay, we are not looking at Congo Brazzaville, because Congo Brazzaville was actually a French colony. I think that one, I just wanted to pass it on for people to know. Okay. Then we are saying there was to be no war for colonies among the European powers. Yes. I've actually emphasized this. There was to be no war. It was agreed in Berlin that you people, we should not fight for colonies in Africa. Are you getting it? There was to be no war for colonies among European powers in Africa and Africa in particular. There is this one here, that among the European powers, no country was to support the Africans against another. That is to say, there was to be no support or no rebellions by the Africans against European powers. Now, it was agreed that these European powers should not support any African tribe, any African country against a colonial power. Are you getting it? It was agreed. But let me tell you, somewhere, somehow they deviated from this. In 1935, in 1935, the Italians came to occupy Ethiopia. And the British, the French, and which other country came up and supported the Emperor Haile Selassie against the Italians. Can you imagine? But here we are saying it was agreed that no European power was to assist any African country against a colonial master. But in 1941, we saw these other countries coming up, the British, the French, in support of Emperor Haile Selassie against the Italians. There is a story there that we might not go into, okay? So that is a term which I've been telling you that to an extent it was violated, and we are done with the terms, okay, of the Barlin Conference. Now, we would like to know the role of the Barlin Conference in the partition of East Africa, the role of the Barlin Conference in the colonization of East Africa, okay? Sherina has a hand up.
I just wanted to give an answer.
Yes,
it was to divide African countries amongst the European countries.
Okay, Sherina, is it a term or a role played by the Barlin Conference in the colonization of partition? A role played, eh?
Yes.
You've said it was to divide. The statement, the way you've phrased, the way you've come up with your statement, it was to. Eh? Are you seeing it? There is something that was lacking. Eh?
Yes.
Maybe polish it up, okay? Then I have Mary. You can unmute yourself. Mary.
The Berlin Conference increased the rivalry among the European powers.
Increase the rivalry. Is that what you're saying? Eh?
Yes.
Oh, now increasing the rivalry. How did it help in the taking over of East Africa?
Because they became more hungry for colonies.
Oh, but okay, thank you. But remember, we have said that the Barlin Conference made sure that they come to Africa and share Africa peacefully without going to war. You understand? I have Samuel. Samuel, you can unmute yourself.
The Barlin Conference made the division of the African countries peaceful.
Yes, thank you so much. Samuel, you are saying they divided African countries. They divided East Africa. And it is the same point I'm seeing in the message here. Maureen has given it, that they divided African countries among European powers. It is very true. Then Nansuga is asking what is the lesson about. Nansuga. We are looking at the Barlin Conference, okay? Nimroid. A moment. Okay. Nimroid, you can unmute yourself.
Teacher, it stimulated the formation of trading companies to trade with the people of the interior.
Thank you so much. Yes, they encouraged the formation of trading companies. And I've already told you that these trading companies played an important role in preparing East Africans for colonialism. Okay. I have Renjo. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, teacher. I wanted to ask which class is this?
It is senior to history.
Okay.
Yes, please. Okay.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. I have Stella.
The Berlin Conference led to the development of structure in Uganda as the European powers and in East Africa as the European powers effectively occupied the area, hence developing it.
Okay, you are talking about the developing of Uganda, developing of East Africa, which was actually so easy for the colonialists to occupy. The Barlin Conference. Okay, are you saying the Barlin Conference granted the rights to, these colonial powers before taking over East Africa to develop East Africa? Maybe in that line, you might be having a point. Okay, Ashley. Ashley. Please, Ashley, unmute yourself.
The Berlin Conference practically divided. Yes, Chef, unmute myself. The Berlin Conference. Chef, can you hear me?
Yes, I
The
can.
Berlin Conference practically divided East Africa among the Germans and the British, hence doing away with the independence of East Africa.
Yes, thank you so much. The Berlin Conference practically divided East Africa among these two European powers, that is German and Britain. Okay, Mary.
The Berlin Conference also speeded up the process of colonization in East Africa.
Speeded up the process of colonization in East Africa. Okay, thank you, Mary, for that. You can mute yourself. This one is saying it divided the East African countries among the European powers. Yes, this is true, and this is from Maureen. Okay, then Maureen says it helped slave trade. It helped. Maybe you were saying it stopped. It helped to stop slave trade. Okay. Encouraging legitimate trade. Actually, that is true, and we have looked at that. So, Ms. Ghana, you can unmute yourself.
The Barlin Conference helped the Europeans to know the map of East Africa clearly. That's why they can divide it peacefully. And moreover, it helped them to colonize East Africa effectively.
Okay, thank you for that. The Berlin Conference, of course, demanded for the map of Africa, and then they had to know which area was to be occupied by which power and all of that. Thank you. I have Nimrod.
It formalized and gave the secular and legal outlook.
It formalized the taking over of Africa and East Africa in particular. It made it formal. But before, countries were only scrambling for Africa and when they had not prepared, like when they had not actually, there was no coordination before. Okay. Linda. Linda, please, can you unmute yourself? Okay, I think Linda can't. Okay, yes, Linda.
The Berlin Conference, they sought to discuss the partitioning of Africa, establishing rules to amicably divide resources among the Western countries at the expense of the African people.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Then Ashley.
The conference also led to an influx of white settlers because it gave permission to the whites to start coming to Africa.
Influx of white settlers in East Africa. And at the end of that day, they ended up partitioning Africa, partitioning East Africa amongst themselves. Thank you, Jovan.
It also reduced the problem of wars among the colonial powers.
Yes, it reduced wars among the colonial powers. Otherwise, if these colonial powers kept on fighting in Africa, they wouldn't have taken over Africa. They wouldn't have partitioned Africa amongst themselves. But the Barlin Conference minimized or actually made sure that there is no atmosphere as they were taking over East Africa. Droll Sensi, you can unmute yourself.
Teacher, the Barlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 marked the climax of the European competition in East Africa.
Okay, marked the climax of European competition for colonies in East Africa. Africa, and indeed they came to Africa with a of Nimroid. Nimroid.
The conference neglected the tribal boundaries.
Sorry?
The conference neglected the tribal boundaries.
The tribal boundaries. How is it connected to assisting the partitioning of East Africa? I think there is no connection there. Ashley? Ashley, can you unmute yourself? Ashley? Okay, I think Ashley can't.
Conference. Oh, I'm there. Me? Teacher, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The Barlin Conference also neglected tribal boundaries. Like some tribes like the Samaira and Luo are in Kenya and Uganda. And this created disunity among the Africans.
Oh, okay. I think Ashley is talking about disunity of Africans, and at the end of the day, they could not help each other in resisting colonialism. Okay, maybe if it is in that line, then it is a clear one. Thank you. Joel. Joel, can you unmute yourself? Oh, I think Joel cannot unmute. Okay. Drosses.
And teacher, the conference resolved to end slavery and African and Islamic powers.
To end slavery?
By African and Islamic powers.
By African and Islamic powers. Yes, actually, slave trade was to be stopped, and it had to be replaced with legitimate trade. And that was to make sure that by the time the colonialists come, they are seen as good people who are not actually forcing Africans into slavery and the slave trade. Luther. Oh, Luther has just put the hand down. Okay. Thank you for all your contributions. Let me see. So can you please unmute me? Oh, this is Nansubuga. Nansubuga, I've always, the moment one puts up a hand, I always unmute, okay? So I don't know what is happening to you. I don't know. Okay. Drolsens.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
What was the impact of the Barlin Conference on Africa?
The impact, again, that is another subheading which has got a lot. Are you getting it? A lot. We have so many points there. So many points there. Africa was colonized. You understand? African resources were taken. You know, so many points there. Okay, and we will look at that. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Then I have Prudence. I think you can unmute yourself. Prudence, unmute yourself. Prudence, can you unmute yourself? Okay, I think Prudence has issues there because, okay, yes?
Teacher, I'm just trying. The partition accelerated or increased missionary work in East Africa.
Oh, are you saying that Barlin Conference increased the missionary work in East Africa?
Teacher, are you hearing me?
Yes, I heard.
The partition accelerated and
okay, Nimroid, you are the last one, and then I give you what I have because I think we have only 10 minutes to the end of the lesson. Yes?
The conference increased delivery among European powers.
Rivalry?
Rivalry.
Are you talking about rivalry?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, rivalry. Maybe you are talking about competing for colonies, but again, they had agreed that each power has to go to, you know, a different area such that they don't fight for colonies in Africa. The conference totally neglected the Africans, yet what was to be decided was to affect the Africans and their grandchildren. This is Ashley. It is an effect. Okay. Let us try to look at this information here. Now, we are saying it was the Barlin Conference that forced the Europeans to introduce colonial rule in East Africa. Yes. The conference forced these European countries that had claims on African countries, on East Africa, to go to East Africa, to Africa, and then introduce colonial rule there, because it was taking over African countries. Okay. Then it is its resolutions, okay, what they came up with, encouraged the colonial masters to abolish slave trade and introduce legitimate trade. And it is the trading companies, the chartered companies, that leveled the ground for colonialism. We looked at the role of chartered companies in the colonization of East Africa. Okay, the European powers were forced to develop trade, agriculture, and education in East Africa. This was an evidence of effective control. Remember, when we were looking at the terms, we talked about effectively controlling the colonies. It was one of the terms that these countries had to effectively control their colonies. And when they entered East Africa, they encouraged Africans to carry out trade, then grow whatever food crops and then cash crops, and then they also came up with education in East Africa, which meant effective occupation and control of these colonies. It led to the formation of chartered companies that administered that territory on behalf of the colonialists. The chartered companies, I've been talking about them: the Imperial British East African Company, the German East African Company, you understand? And these companies administered East Africa on behalf of the colonialists. So the conference formalized the scramble and the partition of East Africa. Formalized it, made it formal. It was now formal. It was not something that they were just, you know, thinking and talking about. You understand? It was now formal. It was by law for these countries to come and take over East Africa. Okay, so we are saying later East Africa was partitioned between Germany and Britain. Okay, we have this other point here. It confirmed the interest of Germans in Tanganyika, indeed. It confirmed the interests of Germans in Tanganyika. And that is the reason why they even signed the Heligoland Treaty. Are you getting it? They gave away Zanzibar to the British, and then the British gave them Heligoland, and then the British left them to take over Tanganyika. It was among the terms of this Heligoland Treaty. So we are saying the Barlin Conference forced German to introduce direct rule in Tanganyika. Yes, it was also a plan that they should introduce direct rule in Tanganyika. They should directly control the people of Tanganyika. Okay. Britain, on the other hand, was forced to introduce indirect rule in her colonies of Uganda and Kenya. And indeed, here in Uganda and Kenya, the British employed indirect rule, where they had Ugandans controlling Ugandans on their behalf, Kenyans controlling Kenyans on their behalf, and all that. The conference left Congo in the hands of King Leopold II of Belgium. We have seen this. We have seen this. And what does it mean? That they are dividing Africa amongst themselves. Are you getting it? Making it easy for them to take over Africa and East Africa in particular. The Barlin Conference also led to the signing of the peace agreement between the British and the Germans, hence passing peaceful resolutions to colonize East Africa. We are talking about the Heligoland Treaty, okay? And of course, after that, it was clear that Zanzibar was to be taken by the British, then Kenya, Uganda, and then Tanganyika was to be taken by the Germans. East Africa was opened for economic exploitation by the Barlin Conference. Indeed, remember we talked about the Barlin Conference encouraging the formation of trading companies, and these trading companies exploited East Africa economically. Exploited East Africa economically. Are you getting it? Then the minds of the Europeans were diverted from West Africa to East Africa by the Barlin Conference. Indeed. Remember, it was chaired by Otto von Bismarck, who had interest in East Africa, most especially Tanganyika. Then the British were there in Uganda, then Kenya. Then they were also looking at the River Nile, which was taking them to Egypt and all that. You know, like now all the mindset was focusing on, East Africa, not West Africa. But at the end of it all, yes, the French were told to go take over Tunisia and all of that. Hey, the Germans were actually, they never wanted to fight up with the French. Why? Because they had just defeated the French in 1871 in what we call the Franco-Prussian War. Now they knew the French would organize a war of revenge. What they did was to encourage them to go and take over territories in West Africa, most especially Tunisia. And Tunisia, of course, was a state that the Italians were also looking at. But Bismarck was telling the French that, don't you see that Tunisia is such a ripe apple for you people to take over? Yes. However much I'm saying they looked at East Africa, but they was also looking at West Africa. Like the Germans were encouraging the French to take over Tunisia, yet the Italians were also looking at that same country. Okay. So yes, so we have this other point here. It made sure that Africans remained weak and disunited. Yes. It emphasized that the Europeans should not sell arms to Africans. It is true. They knew that if they were to effectively control East Africa, then the East Africans had to be weak. How were they to weaken them? By not selling guns to the leaders and the chiefs of the people of East Africa. And at the end of the day, it was so easy for them to fight and take over East Africa because these Africans could not use arrows, sticks, stones. You understand? That is why East Africa was easily colonized and taken over. There is this one here that by calling the Europeans for a meeting to handle the issue of scramble and partition, it prevented war between the different European powers. I talked about this. It would have been so hard for the Europeans to take over East Africa if they were fighting for colonies. So it is the Barlin Conference that takes a credit of stopping these powers in stopping these powers, like it prevented them from fighting anyway. Otherwise, it would have been hard for them to colonize East Africa. Yes, here we are. We've come to the end of lesson 4. Okay, we've come to the end of lesson 4. But as usual, we always get an assignment, and there is our assignment, which talks about the terms of the Barlin Conference. You will, attempt that question and then hand it over for marking. So I always tell you that this lesson was made possible with a funding from Edify Uganda, organized by Christian School Owners Association, and then implemented by ITAU, which is ICT Teachers Association of Uganda. So we've come to the end of this lesson, and unless Mr. Charles has something to tell us, we are going to be meeting again next time. Yes, then I can see someone saying, teacher, what is the difference between a direct and indirect rule? Okay, we don't have time, but we are going to look at that when we meet again in the next class. Okay, Ashley, yes, your hand is up.
Yes, I wanted to give the ending prayer.
Oh, okay. In fact, thank you. In the interest of time, let us have that ending prayer. Ashley, you can go ahead, okay?
Okay. Let's humble ourselves and pray. Loving Jesus, we want to thank you for the lesson that we just had. We want to thank you for our teacher. We pray to may bless him and bless each and every person who has attended this lesson. May you go out with something that you have understood and let it live within us for the days to come. We have prayed all this believing and trusting in your Son, Jesus Christ. We've prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Ashley, for that prayer. Thank you so much. So we've come to the end of this lesson, and we will be meeting up next time.